there's one thing I could tell people, it's gonna sound generic, but it is to stay positive, because there's always gonna be hurdles. There's always gonna be things in your way. It's not gonna be fair at all. Like, and that's not just in the music industry. That's in any dream you're chasing. You know what I mean? If you're trying to be, you're gonna get treated unfairly in college, in school, in your workplace, and that's based on so many different things. It's based on your race. It's based on your gender. It's based on if somebody finds you attractive or not. It's based on, you know, how much money you got. It's so many different ways to class people that you're gonna always encounter something. So I've been doing music a while, you know what I mean? It's always been an uphill battle, especially because of the kind of music I make, you know what I mean? I don't make necessarily the music that you hear on the radio every day. You know, I make music that has a different twist to it, a different story. And so you gotta stay positive, because if you don't, in a sense, you're the one to blame, because you're the only one that can actually stop yourself. You know what I mean? A hurdle is just a hurdle, and it's up to you to just jump over and keep moving. If you allow anything, no matter how justified you think it is, to stop you, it's really on you. You're just using it, whatever that situation is, as an excuse to stop. If you remain positive, you can always continue, no matter what. I always preach that perseverance is key. If you focus on the end goal, if I'm always focused on I want to have an incredible career that inspires people and changes people's lives and affects people and connects to people, then everything that comes along the way I'm ready for, because all I'm thinking about is that end goal, you know what I mean? So, but I can get through all of those things by staying positive. And it's not been easy. I think about, you know, my story from graduating college and thinking music was gonna happen immediately for me, and it did not. Trying to get shows, nobody answering my calls, no interviews, no magazine features, no nothing. Then dealing with regular life, you know, working jobs that you hate, trying to chase a dream at the same time, being broke. I moved to New York thinking, you know, it was gonna happen even faster for me. It still didn't happen. You know what I mean? Eventually I got blessed to be on some tours. It's still an uphill battle. You know, I put out projects that I thought was gonna be so impactful, and nothing happened, you know what I mean? And so you gotta revisit the drawing board, and you gotta reset. And you gotta say, okay, this didn't work exactly how I planned. What's next? You know what I mean? Because if I stop, I only have myself to blame, no matter what. So I always keep that perspective. And I try to tell people that no matter what you're going through, at the end of the day, it's only you that can control, like, whether you stop or keep going. It's weird because, so when I moved to New York, I was working all these jobs, man. Like, I had 3 different jobs at the same time, still barely paying my rent. I'm still calling my mama asking for rent money. And, you know, luckily, that's probably the biggest blessing I had as a family, because it's like they support it, and they was like, we're gonna try to help you, you know. Even they ain't have it, but they trying. The turning point, I think, is eventually I was able to quit those jobs because I went on a tour with Cole. It was like a BET Music Matters tour. And I remember him telling me, like, look, man, because I was worried. I was excited, but I was like, yo, this is one tour. What happens after this? Like, I'm gonna have to pay my rent. He's like, man, you ain't gonna have to work no more after this. I was like, okay, I guess, you know, and but he was right, you know, and I think it's not because I was just super paid after that. It's because going on that tour changed my perspective. It showed it was possible. It was like this, I was so close to it. I was able to see his journey, and I was able to touch the people. I was like, man, this is actually possible for me. You know, after those tours, I went on a couple more tours, and even in between those tours when I was broke, I found a way to make ends meet, you know what I mean, without having to actually go back and get those jobs. And even if you do have to go back and get a job, that's what you gotta do. You know what I mean? I have musician friends who go on tours and come back and they gotta go back and find a job. That's just their story, you know what I mean? And we all got a different story, different path. But I think that, you know, the turning point was going on those tours. And then what's crazy is I thought it was a big turning point, because after those tours, I went on tour with Cole and Drake and Rihanna, and I put out this project, Afraid of Heights, and I thought I was gonna blow. And I just knew, like, this is it. I just did all these tours. I got Kendrick on the album, I got Cole on the album, I got Eric Roberson on the album. I'm thinking, this is it. I've done all the little tricks and gimmicks you need. The music is there. I put the project out. I got a lot of love online, but in real life, nobody knew about that project. I'm not gonna lie, it was crushing, because it was like I just spent 2 years working on this project. No, it's as if I didn't spend 2 years working on the project. Like, I took 2 years out of my whole life dedicating my life to this thing, and nobody cares. That's what it felt like, you know, offline. And I was like, damn, what do I do? You know, I really started thinking, like, damn, should I start thinking about something else to do with my life? Like, I'm looking at the clock, I'm looking at my age, I'm only getting older, and I'm like, I'm starting to listen to people, and people telling you when you get this age, you can't do it. You know, rap, they care about that. And I was like, you know what? I had to like shut all of that out and say, look, man, if this is what makes me happy, I'm not gonna be happy in any other thing, any other job. There are other things I want to do in life, but this is the thing that makes me most happy. And if I gotta be broke my whole life doing it, I'm willing to do that, because happiness matters more to me than everything else, you know. So I had to make that conscious choice. And what that did was, when I started working on Elephant Eyes, I was like, you know what? No matter what I do from this point on, at worst, I'm just gonna be right where I'm at. If I put out the worst project, I'm gonna be still right here broke with nothing to my name. So in a sense, it was liberating. It was like, you know, I can do whatever I want. To me, it was only up from there. So, you know, luckily that perspective allowed me to let go of everything. And I think I made the best music of my life, and definitely having the best year of my life. You know what I mean? All these tours I've been able to do, and now my own tour. And I think it's a result of having that perspective of like letting go of everything people telling you they think is gonna work, because people don't know. The people with all the advice don't even do music. You know what I mean? The people with all the advice have never been in the industry. Even people in the industry are usually people that have failed trying to tell you what to do. You know what I mean? So you gotta trust your heart. You gotta use your brain and, you know, try to listen to the people that actually have some success. Or if you're not around people that's successful, look it online. Follow people that are successful and study their careers, the moves they made. Because that's what I did. You know what I mean? That's what I still continue to do. You got to know who not to listen to and who to listen to. When they see the highlight film, they tend to think things come easily, or just not as tough as it may seem. But it's a real work ethic, especially when I like get involved in like, okay, I'm starting a project. It's every day, all day. I might wake up at 10 o'clock. I might not eat till 7 o'clock, because from 10 o'clock on, I'm working. I'm working on beats. I'm searching through samples. I'm downloading new drums. I'm coming up with different patterns, trying to chop samples different. And that's all before I've done any writing. You know, I'm still doing all these beats. You might make 6 beats a day and come up with nothing. You know what I mean? They might be decent, but they're not the one. So eventually, let's say 3 days later, you come up with that beat that's like, this speaks to me for some reason. Now you got to come up with the words. And you know, that's sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, depending on whatever's going on. But it's a constant. It's every day, man. It's every day working. You try to balance it out. I try to go out just to get away from it, because you got to have experiences to write from. All of these tours and everything, sometimes people say, man, you're so lucky. And I get what they mean, but in my head, I'm like, nah, like, I work hard. Like, I've worked hard for these things, and I feel like I deserve these things that are happening for me. You know what I mean? I know I'm lucky because there are other people working hard and this thing's not happening for them. And I've been that person where nothing was happening for me. So I get that part, but I think people need to understand that it's hard work. You know what I mean? It's just like I equate it to any sports star. If you want to, Stephen Curry he has to make 100 shots a day. He has to make 100 shots. That means how many is he shooting just to make those hundreds in practice? So when he gets in the game, it looks easy. But no, it's behind the scenes, he's working hard. And it's the same thing for any artist, or at least for myself. I can't speak for any other artists, but I know myself and the rest of Dreamville, we constantly working. You know, I look at Cole and it's inspiring, because here he is, possibly one of the top 3 artists in the game right now. He just did the hugest tour, the biggest tour of the summer. After every show, he was back on the bus writing. As soon as his show was over, I go over to the bus and he's in the studio writing or making beats. And it's like, he could take a break, but he's not, you know, because he's constantly honing his craft and constantly working. And I use that as inspiration. And then honestly, we wrapping this tour up, and I'm gonna get right back into starting the next project. You know, I kind of think I see what's coming in the next year, and if I know if I start now, I could be ready at the right time. I'm excited because I think I'm more confident than I ever been in my music and my ability. You know, my lifestyle has been changing, so I got new stories and new inspirations. You know, I'm excited to see what I come up with and what happens. So you look at Pac and you hear the stories about the way he works, and I just think that's the goal. You know what I mean? Continue getting better, continue working, and that's only gonna happen through hard work. It's not gonna happen through, I think people think they can use shortcuts. If I just go walk up to this rapper and rap in front of him, my career gonna blow up. It don't work like that. You know, like, I used to be that kid. I went to a concert or to a party I knew a rapper was gonna be at and try to rap for him, and it did nothing. Like, what's that gonna do? You know what I mean? As an artist, I don't think it works that way, especially today, because there's so many people doing music. It's like the way I discover music. If somebody puts out an incredible project that everybody keeps telling me about, then I'm like, oh, I need to check this out. And that's the way you get discovered. I think today it's like you got to put out something impactful. You know, one verse. A lot of people can make a dope verse. You know what I mean? A lot of people got metaphors, but it's like what makes you different, you know, is that project or that incredible song. So I think people tend to look at the highlight film instead of the whole season.
And I knew as much as they hate it now, it'll make sense to them later. My whole philosophy just in life is to just be who you are. And I could not live my life not pursuing music, because then I would not be who I am.
It's deeper than racism. Like, some people have self-hate that's just so, to the point where they try to destroy anything around them, you know what I mean? And it's really self-destruction. It's a disease for sure.
Knowing that a lot of things will come that may affect you, he always was like, kind of peel your ears back and do you. You know, don't be affected by what's going on. Just stay focused, tunnel vision.
A black man with power doesn't feel like he can wield that power, wield and control that power. So he needs to go get him a white head so he can become a worker again, because that's what we're comfortable with being.